it's not feasible for anybody to synthesize all those million of compounds and doing the test in the lab and assessing and evaluating the properties of those compounds. So what computational chemistry do is we try to screening all those millions compound and narrow them down to a short list. Let's say from the millions, we go to something around 200 compounds or candidates. And for those 200 candidates, it's feasible for wet lab experimentalists to synthesize them and do the tests.
Welcome to Impact Quantum.
Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it.
Hello and welcome back to Impact Quantum, the podcast where we explore the emerging industry of quantum computing, where you don't need to have a PhD, you just need to be a little bit curious. And with that in mind, the most quantum curious person I know is with me, Candace Gouly. How's it going, Candace?
It's great. Thank you, Frank. I'm really excited about today. We're going to be speaking with Mostafa Javahari, who is a computational chemist revolutionizing drug design with quantum insights.
Nice.
Doesn't that sound exciting? That sounds so exciting to me.
That does sound great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So tell me, what can quantum computing do for drug discovery?
So basically, I'm going to give you a whole picture of the drug discovery process. So the whole idea is we have millions of compounds already listed in the libraries, and it's not feasible for anybody to synthesize all those million of compounds and doing the test in the lab and assessing and evaluating the properties of those compounds. So what computational chemistry do is we try to screening all those millions compound and narrow them down to a short list. Let's say from the millions, we go to something around 200 compounds or candidates. And for those 200 candidates, it's feasible for wet lab experimentalists to synthesize them and do the tests. So that's the whole process the pharmaceutical company are undertaking to design and discovering new drugs. So now how quantum mechanics, quantum chemistry can help in that, basically in the modeling part, what we have is just a prediction. And then we send the prediction to the wet lab, and the wet lab is just validating the predictions. So in the computational side, if you have a high accuracy models or theory, or your theory is really strong, then you would have more confidence when you're sending them out to the wet lab. So it basically means that we eliminating uncertainty in the predictions.
Interesting. And chemistry, biology, those are all inherently kind of quantum processes, right? Like the way the molecules interact. So does that give quantum computers an advantage in that space?
Yes. So in terms of the quantum computings, basically in classical computers, we have two bits, 0 and 1. And everything should be like a black and white thing. So, but however, in the quantum computings, we have qubits. And qubits can be 0, 1, or it can be something between 0 and 1, which we call them superposition. So with classical computers, you can predict doing some calculation, and you can, with whatever algorithm you design, you can put some gates that can process and understand those 0, 1 pulses. But in quantum computing, what people do is the qubits are actually a superposition of 0 and 1, so it can be more a probability of finding your state at 0, at 1, or something in between. So now you have more flexibility in understanding and processing those pulses. However, we should not confuse the classical computers with the quantum computers because quantum computers are not the successors of the current classical computers. Quantum computers are basically what I can referring to, what I prefer to refer to is like a measuring device. So let's say we are looking at a specific biological system. So for now, what we have classical computers are, it's going to be too much computations for modeling a huge protein, for example. And it takes years, and maybe sometimes it's just not at all feasible because it takes hundreds of years. However, when we're sending these proteins as a model or as an algorithm to the quantum computers, we can process all these atoms, electronic interactions at the same time. So it takes much, much, much faster and quicker to measuring the final property that we are looking for. For example, if you are looking for the energy of that protein. So we can send all these information into the qubits in quantum computing and just get the results. However, if you want to use the classical computers, you have to first break down all this information of your protein to the 0 and 1 bits. So you can think about it how much it would be slower when you are breaking everything down to smaller pieces and just going one by one instead of inputting everything all together at the same time to one device.
Interesting. So is it fair to say that these are massively parallel systems?
It's not parallel because in classical computers, no matter how much you're gonna grow in parallel, you cannot defeat the qubits because, well, basically, what one qubit can understand is different states of an electron or of an, let's say, a quantum system, and it can process them as a probability distribution, the probability of finding this state, say 0, 1, or something in between. So when we are comparing them with the like a parallelized computers, I mean, just like comparing apples to pears. So it's
Right.
two different things. I would say quantum computers is like more a measuring device with a high accuracy. However, classical computers are just like calculators. They are our calculators, but they are currently nowadays so big, so huge, with more flexibility. But if you break it down and go into the CPU gates, what you see just the calculation. In quantum computers, it's not calculation, it's just measurements of an state, of an quantum state.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Oh, okay. Like I understand a little bit more about, why you still need to rely heavily on, classical computing. So where exactly would quantum computing offer the biggest lift?
So what quantum computers can offer, I would say, quantum computers currently is the very earliest. Maybe we can compare them with the airplanes in the beginning of the 20th century. But if you have, like IBM is one of those organizations, companies that are trying to create more and more qubits. So let's say once we have enough qubits, and then we can do something very interesting with large systems, let's say proteins. And if we are focused on treatment, for example, we are focused to treatment of a specific cancer, and we have a specific target. So what we can do in quantum computers is we can measuring all the properties that we are looking for. Basically, typically it's energy, for example. So we can measure the energy of that protein by embedding that protein in terms of the information into the quantum computer. at the same time. But there's one condition. We need to have enough qubits that can deal with all the atoms and quantum states of that protein. For example, if my protein has 10 atoms, and then I know, well, 10 atoms may have 50 different orbitals, right? So my qubits should have enough bit to treat all these orbitals at the same time. Then with one shot, I can calculate the properties of that system. And it's just measuring the whole protein as a whole system, just by one, let's say, there are some iterations, however, but basically it doesn't need to be any more, let's say, breaking down my protein into strings, 0 and 1 strings, and feed them into the CPUs, getting the output results. No, it's not like that anymore. So, but yeah, so I think I would say the interesting things happens when we have enough qubits in a quantum system, quantum computers in the future. Then we can treat all the atoms of that system all together into our quantum computer and then get the results. So the challenge is now is we don't have enough qubits to do all these things.
Okay. So what are the major misconceptions that you run into when you talk to people about quantum drug design?
Basically, I would say currently there are like pressure from the market, both in AI and in quantum mechanics, quantum computing. So what people estimate is like what people hear about the quantum chemistry or like doing the quantum mechanics in drug design stuff. They may think that something that's happening very soon in terms of like revolutionizing the whole thing. Well, that may happen, but we are not currently in that stage. We are so people who are on the cutting edge of the science. They are trying to progress. They are trying to come up with the new ideas, but sometimes I would say in news and in terms of the audience who are not in the quantum chemistry, maybe they have much more expectation from what's right now happening. That's the thing I want to refer to. So, however, I don't say that nothing gonna happen soon. Well, there are some promising applications right now. There are some promising research that's happening, and every year we can hear the news. But what we need, at least in terms of quantum computers in drug designs, maybe sometime around 10 years from now, then probably at that time, more interesting applications will come out.
So you think it's going to be about 10 years before something practical can be built to do drug discovery?
Yes, I heard some news that IBM, who is one of the biggest companies that are trying to creating much more qubits every year, they have promised to have around, if I don't mistake, something around 100,000 qubits by 2030. So, well, that's just estimation, but if they can get that much qubits by 2030, I would say that would be very interesting application. Then we can have, especially in terms of biological systems, and like which are like would be actually the same area of the computational drug design.
Do you think it's going to be a linear kind of experience, or you think it'll be like these series of big bangs, like in terms of number of qubits and things like that?
Yeah, probably. This is what we have seen before in other technologies. So like the first classical computers, when they are made, was like as large as a whole building.
Right.
And the power you were getting from them was something around like maybe 1/3 of what we have in our smartphones, right? But the technology like developed further and further, and now we have maybe 100 times faster computers in our pocket, in our cell phone, comparing it to 30 years ago. I would say, yeah, it's gonna be first very probably bulky and big computers, quantum computers. But once we like develop further and further, it's gonna be much more compact, much more efficient, and I don't know, maybe someday it's just gonna be a small device on our desk. However, the challenge is now, as far as I know, is like the refrigerator that they need is so big, because if you want to have a qubit, you need to cool it down to just the around something around minus 270 degree, which is around 0 Kelvin temperature. So the refrigerator is the challenge, but the qubits can go smaller. And my assumption is that the refrigerators also can become smaller and smaller and more efficient.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, like, has that been a barrier, like the refrigeration units and things like that? Has it been a barrier for folks to roll out their own quantum? Because I imagine 0 Kelvin is extremely cold. It's about as cold as you can get, right? And it seems that's expensive to cool something down to that temperature. What has that been a barrier? Do you think that maybe room, even size, regardless of size of the computer, do you think room temperature would help bring down the costs of quantum computing?
Yes, we have some devices. Well, they have like like basically a different way of the qubits. They use the laser beams as the qubits.
Right.
However, because when you're doing it in room temperature, it's good for demonstration to showing to the people. But if you want to really using it for your calculation or your measurement, then the amount of error you will get is so big, and you don't want that. So if you want the error comes down, you need to have it in the very low temperature, because the temperature disturb the electronic states of the qubits, and that brings like interference that stops or like put an error in the interference pattern that you get from the qubits. So the one solution for that was using or putting the qubits in very low temperature. So you will minimizing the environmental effect, the environment temperature, and you will get lower error from that.
Interesting. Is there a, oh, sorry, go ahead, Candace, go ahead.
Actually, is there some kind of metaphor or example that might help people visualize how quantum computers explore molecular possibilities differently than classical ones?
Yeah, so in terms of the classical computers, we have the program. So the programming and compilers are our interface that send our human readable message to the CPUs, and then they interpret that and then put it back again as a human readable message. Right? So we have like Python programming, C++ programming. These are all ways that you can put something in your classical computer and ask it to do that calculation or like showing you some plot on the screen. In terms of the quantum computers, we have the circuit. So we have, let's say, like in classical computers, we have the logical gate in CPU. In a quantum computers, what we have from the interface between the human and the qubits is the circuit. So it's important how you design your circuit. And in that circuit, we have the gates that are connecting all these circuits together. And in each circuit, we have different layers, and we can connect the qubits to each other in that circuit. So basically, how you can send the message to the quantum computers is like there are some different mappings, which is giving the input as a, like, let's say, if I can say it in a simple way, it's like an electric pulse, right? But it's called like Jordan-Richter mapping. So you can input those mapping as like electric pulse into that circuit. And then it depends on your system. So it depends on your like how many atoms, how many electrons you have in that system. And then you can send these pulses into that circuit. And then because you already designed that circuit, you know like what gate it should be where. And this is like a challenge right now also. Apart from the classical qubits, we also need to deal with designing this specific circuit that can address the issue that we are looking for a solution. So you're embedding your system as via map, which means like you're sending in as a pulses into that qubit, into that device. And then what you get at the end is just the measurement. And the measurement is like the, let's say, if it's a probability distribution between 0 and 1, it will give you like 70% for the first shot. And then you turn it on again, send the second pulse, and you will do it like 10,000 times. And at the end, from what you get for each measurement, for each pulses, like a percentage or the probability, right? So you get like 70% first, 60% second time, then 10%, and then so on. But when you do it in 10,000 times, then you have very confidence of what would be the final value based on that probability distribution or the probability measurement. I hope it made it clear. If not, I can.
No, yeah, like I think that makes sense.
Absolutely. Kind of makes me wonder, like what originally made you want to pursue quantum chemistry?
But basically, I'm not focused on the quantum computers for now. Like we have some, like in our group, we have some other colleagues who are focused on the quantum computing side. But for the quantum chemistry, what I'm doing right now on computational drug design is that so we using the quantum mechanics theory to bringing more accuracy in computational drug design. So going back to the very first example that I mentioned about the whole process of drug design.
Mm-hmm.
So currently what this challenge is that we use the classical physics, Newtonian physics. So we consider atoms and electrons as like the planets orbiting around the solar system. Right? But it works for sending the rockets into space, but unfortunately it doesn't, these physical theories does not work when you're going down to the electrons, because electrons are not like balls. So they don't have the physical particle nature. So they can jump. They can, by jump means they're just disappearing from some point and then appearing some point without taking that distance at all. So they do the quantum tunneling. And what we have in the quantum mechanics is finding the probability of like let's say finding the probability of finding one particle, one electron around a specific region. So this is what we're gonna do. So this is what we aim to do. And in drug design, if you use the classical ones, well, you will have some prediction. I mean, it's better than just nothing, because like as I mentioned, it's not feasible to synthesize millions of compounds. But if you bring in more accuracy, and then accuracy means that if you treat the electrons and atoms of your drug by quantum mechanics rule, it means that now your prediction will be more confident about what would be the real drug, because now you can understand the interactions between the drug that you're trying to develop and your target protein by like a magnifying glass. So you can go in there really with like some quantum tools and looking, oh, you see that this carbon, for example, in that region of this drug is not good at all. It doesn't contribute into stopping that protein. So I'm going to replace that carbon with something else and then try it again. And everything just in the modeling, right? So it doesn't need to waste any materials or like the labor or time. So everything just in your coding. And so the only advantage is that you're using the quantum mechanics rules, which is the more, let's say, more accurate theories. You are dealing with the molecular interactions.
Interesting. What would be your advice to someone who's in university now or early in their career, whether it's for chemical engineering, physicist, or even computer science? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, it depends on how, like, what their passion, what they are more passionate about. If they are like, I was passionate about quantum mechanics, and well, my master's degree was in biochemistry. Well, at that time I was using computational biology, but then I was more like, I get familiar first with the concept of the quantum mechanics, and then I got more interested. So I just took some more courses on quantum mechanics, understanding the basics of what's actually happening in that realm of the electrons. And I like the quantum mechanics. I was passionate about it. But I would say for people that like try to follow what you are passionate about, that helps you a lot in succeeding in what you are doing.
Okay, that's good to know.
No, that's fair. That's, do you ever have a mentor that really significantly affected your path, or your perception?
I would say my when I was doing my master's degree, my supervisor, he was like the way he supervising me. I like that, and then I mean he just allowed me to grow, allowed me to myself to go in there and like searching, finding, trying to develop my skills. I would say he was one of the let's say mentors that didn't stop me basically to searching or coming with the new ideas. And he was very also passionate about the new ideas, like exploring new things. And also here in UNB, my current supervisor is also like he's very flexible. He's always welcoming the new ideas. In profession, I like these two people, and I think I know some people in university. I mean, my friends like maybe was not as lucky as I was. So their supervisor like was from like old school, and then they were like so restricted, and no, you have to do this and then do that, and then, so not basically welcoming the new ideas. I had the chance to work with people who were intelligent and who were welcoming new ideas.
Interesting. So it's helpful to have a mentor with an open mind, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. I would say it's very important, especially if you are in the science field. Um, maybe, I mean, there's no guarantee that the subject that or topic that you want to explore is going to be succeed. There is
Right.
also a high rate of failure. But uh, if your supervisor is okay, I mean, usually they will allow you like go and further investigate and see what's happening. And at the end, what you're gonna have as your results would be the exploration of something that maybe other people didn't try it.
Right.
So you're on the academic side. You're finishing up your PhD,
Yes.
and you're also a lecturer. So you're solidly on the academic side. Are you interested in going over the bridge into industry?
Yes, that's something that I'm planning. I mean, I'm looking for the next step as my career. I would like to be engaged in the research, in analyzing the data. So this is, I think my skill set is in there. Um, I'm interested in both, like going industry, and also maybe continuing as a postdoc in another like in university. But the good thing, like, or maybe this the overlap between these two roles would be the research. So I would like to be engaged in the research and exploring different things and yeah, trying to come up with the new ideas, trying them.
What's your favorite part about that aspect, the research?
Problem solving, I would say. Basically, you can, like, everybody can have a different kind of joys. I mean, like, if you're eating something delicious, it's joyful. If you're doing some gym and practicing and playing whatever you like the soccer or everything, it's a joyful habit. But I would say one of the highest joy that someone can has also was when after some time they were wrestling with some problem, especially like the conceptual problem, and then they find a solution at the end, or they find with a new idea that can overcome that barrier, and it's very gonna be joyful. Like I had these moments in my research, trying to addressing some problem or trying to like in my coding, maybe in my like the way that I was trying to embedding one protein into my code, and then when I come up with a new idea and then it works and then it gives me so much joy and passion, and I mean, oh my God, this is gonna work. This is like the thing that I created actually is gonna be very interesting. So that's why I actually tried to patent an idea for UND. So this came directly from my PhD research. Yeah, and this is what I didn't expect it the first day that I started my PhD, but after like working on my code and I found, oh, you know what, this is gonna be very useful in drug design because I know that they don't have such a tool and this tool gonna be helpful. So yeah, I would say research is good because it gives you the mental joy of playing with some puzzle and then figuring out how to solve it.
Very cool.
I'm interested at the intersection of AI and quantum computing, and I'm wondering how AI and quantum can complement each other in the kind of work that you're doing. Do they solve different parts of the drug design puzzle for you?
Yes, currently we have AIs in, well, I know some of them that they are like as a startup. They are trying to combine the generative AI with the drug design. Uh, the key part in the AI is that you need to train a model. And for that, you need a high quality data. So if your data is not good, the result that you will get from that data is also not good. So in the future, maybe we have some more data from quantum computers, and then we can embed them into the AI, and then we have more like without doing the calculation, just using the AI model, we can have good results out of that. But the condition here is that you need to have a high quality data first.
Turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold. The multiverse is skanking in time. Black holes are wailing in a horn line so fine. From Planck scales to planets, they're connecting the dots. Candace and Frank, they're the cosmic hot shot. Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold.